Hello. You need to pull up worksheet 16 and please check your answers. You should have done this independently and you are checking your answers to see if you are correct. For the first 6, we are turning these into percentages. Remember, percentages mean out of 100. So on the first one, we can get from 20 to 100 by multiplying by 5. So we'll multiply the top by 5 as well to get 70 out of 100, which is 70%. Number 2, to make it out of 100, we would multiply by 25. Think of quarters. 4 quarters is 100. So multiply the top by 25. 3 quarters would be 75 out of 100, which is 75%. Number 3, 2/5 as a percent, we would multiply by 20, which means we have to multiply the top by 20 to get 40 out of 100, or 40%. Okay. Number 4, 5/8. We cannot get from 8 to 100. Okay, so we cannot do it like that. Remember, this division bar or fraction bar is the same as a division bar. So we can do 5 divided by 8. Top number always goes on the inside. 8 does not go into 5, so add a decimal and a 0, and you can start dividing. Goes in 6 times, which is 48. 8 into 20 would go 2 times, which is 16. And 8 into 40 goes 5 times evenly. Remember, to move or to make a decimal into a percent, we move the decimal twice to the right. To go from a decimal to a percent, you move the decimal twice to the right. Okay. Remember, on number 5, 7/7 is the same as saying 1 whole. If you get the whole thing correct, that's a 100%. So if it said 5/5, that's 100%. If you got 8 out of 8, that's 100%. If you got a 10 out of 10, that's 100%. 1 whole is 100%. And then finally, number 6, we cannot get from 16 to 100, so you may not do it like that. We have to divide. 3 divided by 16. Top number always goes on the inside. 16 into 30 will go once. Add a 0 and bring it down. 16 into 140 goes 8 times, which is 128. Sixteen into 120 goes 5 times. It's not 5 times, I'm sorry, it's 7 times. Seven times is 112. And then 16 into 80 is right here, goes in 5 times. And bring your decimal straight up. To go from a decimal to a percent, we move the decimal twice to the right. So we have 18.75%. Okay. A tornado affects 10 out of 25 Midwestern states. What percent of the Midwestern states are affected by the tornado? If you do 10 out of 25, it says what percent? We need it out of 100. So we can multiply by 4. Again, think of quarters. 40 out of 100 is 40%. Okay. Now let's go the other way. We're going to turn percentages into decimals and fractions. Remember, when you have a percent, you're going to move the decimal twice to the left to make it a decimal. So if you don't see the decimal, it is behind it. Twice to the left, we have 0.65. As a fraction, remember 65% means 65 out of 100. And then we always need to simplify. So we will get 13/20. 67% as a decimal, move it twice to the left. We have 0.67. 67 hundredths would be written like that as a fraction. We cannot simplify. We're in simplest form. 123%, move the decimal twice to the left, which gives me 1.23 as a decimal. That's 1 and 23 hundredths as a fraction, and that cannot be simplified either. Okay, and then the bottom four, 8% as a decimal, move it twice to the left, 0.08. That says 8 hundredths, 8 over 100, and we can simplify to get 2/25. 78%, move the decimal twice to the left to get 0.78, 78 hundredths. And again, we're gonna simplify. They're both even. So if we simplify by 2, we'll get 39/50. 15% as a decimal, move it twice to the left. We're gonna get 0.15. 15 hundredths as a fraction, put it over 100 and simplify to get 3/20. And finally, 90% as a decimal, move it twice to the left to get 9.90. And then 90 hundredths, when you simplify, you'll get 9/10. That is how we turn percentages into decimals and fractions.